Hi, I'm Blair French and welcome to another webisode of Lessons in Lifestyle, where today we're going to learn the basic components of any salad dressing so that you can make your own favorite one right at home. Now, as we start to talk about salad dressings, I'd first like you to understand that there are some very basic categories, different components that go into each salad dressing. The most basic salad dressings will usually be comprised of a vinegar or an acid, an oil, and salt. This is a special salt that I'm using. This is a salt that's harvested in the south of Mexico in an area called the Isthmus of Tehuantepec. It's in the state of Oaxaca. I happen to love this salt, and you can find this on my website, but you will need to use some type of salt in your salad dressings. That's it. That's salad dressing 101. If you want to become a little more creative and expressive and start to incorporate different flavors, then I would add the next component being a savory component, where you can work in herbs such as rosemary or thyme, garlic. You could add a Dijon mustard. That might take your salad dressing up to the next level. And then yet there's a final one that I would leave you with, which is sweet. So adding some type of sugar or honey or even a jam can really round out your salad dressing and add a little more depth to it. So to review, we have an acid, we have an oil, we have salt, we have a savory component, and we have a sweet component. So what I'll demonstrate now is a Dijon vinaigrette, and I'm going to go through each category, each component that I just talked about, and we'll construct our salad dressing right here. And because we're in Mexico, I'm going to use a molcajete, which would be the equivalent of maybe a food processor in the States, to make our salad dressing. Now, I would like to use lime. I'm going to use an olive oil. I'm just going to go through each of these different categories and pick my components. So I'm going to use lime. I'm going to use olive oil. I've got my salt here. I'm going to pull my Dijon so I can use that. And I may add just a tiny bit of sugar just to soften it a little bit. Sometimes they can be really harsh. So, one thing about the savory category is you can keep it basic and just use one. I'm probably going to use a little bit of the pepper from here. I've already pulled my Dijon, and I'm also going to use garlic. So I'm going to drop my garlic clove in the molcajete. I'm going to smash it, just to break it up a little bit. And then once that's done, I'll cut my lime. I'll squeeze that in. We've got our acid. I'm gonna do the whole thing. And I want, I'm going to use, you know what, I'm going to put a tad bit of rosemary in there since I just picked it and I'm inspired by it. I'm going to put a few sprigs in there and just move them, just crush them a little bit in the molcajete to get the flavor out. I've already used my acid. I've used something from my savory component. I'm going to drop in my salt. Again, I'm just eyeing this. I don't have any exact measurements, but I'm going to keep in mind that my Dijon mustard is pretty salty, so I want to back out my other salt a little bit. Put in our Dijon. Let's get a nice tablespoon. I'll mix it in a little bit. I'm going to drop in just a little bit of sugar to soften all these flavors, just a little bit. Now, oftentimes when you'll have a salad dressing that's really tangy, they've used more sugar. It's almost equal parts acid and sugar. But I don't want to taste this and go, oh, it's sweet. So we just want a little bit. And lastly, I'll use my oil. And I'm going to eyeball it. And then we'll just mix all this up together, and we'll have a great homemade salad dressing. Okay, now because I eyeballed my oil and my acid, I'm going to give you a few basic guidelines. And a good general rule of thumb is 1/4 cup to 1/3 cup of your acid. So that'll be your vinegar or your lemon juice. And I would pair that with between 2/3 cup to 3/4 cup of an oil. With that, I might add a teaspoon of salt. I think that would be appropriate for those proportions, and if you stick within that, I think you'll be good. And then as you start to become more experienced at making salad dressings, you'll learn to switch your proportions depending on the type of dressing that you're making. So I'm using the molcajete, but you can feel free to use a blender, you could use a food processor, you could simply use a bowl and just chop each of your ingredients and put them in the bowl and mix them up. So good luck with making your salad dressing, and don't be afraid to experiment and have fun.